I've given up. I wish I could say on men in general. I get involved with men who become stalkerish or suicidal, so I need casual. It's not like I don't get out of the house. I mean, I socialize. And when men approach me, they're usually 20-something or married. No, I've given up on meeting men in person. So now I'll stoop to online dating, but what to put in the ad? How about this?
Busy executive seeks tall man.
My ex was short.
Tall employed man.
My ex was unemployed.
Okay. Seeking tall employed man for companion. I am a college-educated professional who enjoys eating out, going to concerts, the theater, and the movies.
No, that sounds mundane. I'll attract a man with the passion of a houseplant.
Okay. Attractive. No. Tall, thin woman with green eyes and strawberry blonde hair.
I think strawberry blonde has a very broad definition.
Strawberry blonde hair, seeks tall employed man who loves adventure and has multiple interests. I enjoy traveling, exotic dining, and skydiving.
Okay, so I've never skydived, but I think I would like it. But maybe he'll want a bungee jump. Or worse yet, maybe he'll want to go on an exotic trip to the Amazon where we'll sleep in a hammock with snakes and tarantulas and I'll die from a venomous bite or malaria. Oh, no. Okay, I need something a little more open-ended.
I am a tall, thin woman.
Okay. I'm thin, considering most people in the country are overweight.
You really need to stop interrupting. I am a slender woman with green eyes and strawberry blonde hair. As a business professional, I am on the road frequently, and local interests such as writing groups and the theater keep me extremely busy. I am seeking a tall, employed man with outside interests. Due to my very busy schedule and other commitments, I am looking for someone to occasionally hang out with on a very casual basis.
What? That sounds like I just want someone to have sex with. Am I someone's 3 a.m. booty call?
Excuse me?
Oh, fine. I totally give up. I have officially had it. Well, let's go to the store then. I need to stock up on some AA batteries.
Oh, what have I done? Why am I crying? I know what I said and what I did. Why am I here on my knees feeling like I am to blame? If he wouldn't do the things he does, if he would actually listen sometimes, we would not be in this situation. Gosh, I hope he knows I still love him. I hope this doesn't make him want to live with his father. I don't know what I'd do if he wanted to live with his father. Man, why yesterday? Why any day, but why yesterday? When I was upset from work and mad at the husband. Why can't I stop taking my anger out and my frustration out on them? I want him to succeed. I want him to do well, so why do I yell and scream at him? I know I hurt his feelings, but I hurt myself the worse. Is that why I'm crying? Is that why I'm asking the Father for forgiveness? I don't mean to. I really don't mean to. How do I say I'm sorry? How do I go about telling him that I really do love him? I pause as my kids come in from the school bus. Okay, no frustration. Not another day like yesterday. Calm, relaxed, soft tone. Jonathan, do you have any homework? Let's work on it together. Okay, Cindy, deep breath. You can work with him without yelling and frustration. You can, right?
When I was real little, I thought the sign in church that said hymns was short for high minutes. I thought that those were the important times in church, so I better pay attention at 127, 302, 249, 620, and Blue Book 250. Skip ahead to the 5th grade and the menstruation talk. The instructor, explaining the female anatomy, asked if anyone knew what the hymen was. My hand shot up and I triumphantly answered, "It's something in the Catholic Church." In the 7th grade, I was hanging out with girls who were a little more worldly. For example, while waiting for class to begin one day, this girl dug in her purse and said she had Trojans. I exclaimed, "Oh, I want one!" I thought Trojan was a brand of candy. About the same time in 7th grade, a friend asked if my boyfriend and I had had oral sex. I said, "Sure, all the time." I thought oral sex was just talking about sex. I was 13 years old, blonde, and toting a 30-60 chest. Everyone just assumed I was easy, and declaring that I had had oral sex with my boyfriend all the time just perpetuated that idea. Although I wasn't a late bloomer, I was a little behind in the slang and innuendo of the 90s.
I never thought about my vagina as being separate from myself. I've always thought about it as something that I controlled. Well, the first time that my vagina met a penis, I realized that she, well, that's how I refer to her now, had a mind of her own. I was always arguing with her, telling her that I was ready to have sex, but she continually refused this foreign creature from entering her. Oh, we went through years of this battle, years. She was such an unhappy and unwelcoming vagina. She'd close up and stay dry when a penis was trying to enter her. I thought being with a man was what I wanted, at least what I was expected to want, right? Well, my vagina apparently thought differently. She affected my relationship with men. You know, I'd tell them I'm ready for sex, but she's not willing. Well, I'm sure they thought this sounded as crazy as I did. I mean, really, how can a vagina determine who you have sex with, right? And so my sexuality was something I began wondering about, since my lovely vagina never seemed to want a penis in her. Then I moved to South Bend, and I ended up meeting a woman who was bisexual. Now, I had never met anybody who was gay or bisexual before, so this was a brand new experience. Well, we got to know each other, and we began an intimate relationship. And the first time my vagina met her vagina, I swear I heard the Hallelujah chorus. She opened herself up with open arms to this other vagina. And I, finally realized what she'd been trying to tell me all along. She didn't want a penis inside of her. She wanted another vagina. Well, it all made sense to me now. You see, she helped me realize who I am as a person. Yeah, now I let her keep the vaginas only sign, welcomed up, which makes her a very, very happy vagina.
Can you imagine feeling like you don't belong within your own skin? Can you imagine feeling like every fiber of your being screams that the person that society sees isn't you? Deep within my very makeup, I'm someone else. Someone that only I know. I walk among you, a complete and utter stranger to you. You see a pretty, shy girl, but she isn't me. I was born into a conservative Baptist family, my father a minister. They named me Caroline and I'm 17. My parents want a daughter who represents their values and beliefs, and they expect me to be this pink-clad cheerleader type. But I'm Caleb, not their precious little girl. I'm a guy, a flesh and blood man. I'm a guy. There, I said it. I try not to look in the mirror because I can't handle what I see. I see breasts in that other thing. Yuck. I'm not this stranger looking back at me. I don't know this person, but I do know that she is standing in the way of me, of being Caleb, and I hate her for it. I hate that she can't go away. Do you have any idea how often I have been suicidal? Countless. I tried once, but it didn't work. I fell asleep for like 15 hours or some shit like that. My parental units had no clue. I tried telling my dad how I feel. He pulled out the Bible and started thumping it and screaming at me, saying that what I was saying was an abomination in God's eyes. He railed at me about how God doesn't make mistakes. Well, Dad, he did this time. God is laughing at me because he made my body into a female's but gave me the heart and soul of a man. You, who should be supportive of my feelings instead of calling me a fucking freak, an abomination. I'm the boy next door, good-looking and popular. I'm a high school football player and a soccer player. I imagine looking into the mirror and seeing Caleb, seeing the real me, seeing what my body was meant to be. Blue eyes, short cropped blonde hair, athletic build, all muscles and trim. That's Caleb. That's who I am. Don't you see? I'm Caleb, damn it, I'm Caleb.
On my son's 15th birthday in 1990, I took him out to dinner, gave him his gifts. After cake and ice cream, I took him to his dad's where he was spending the night. Before I got out of the car, I told him I had one more present. I reached into the back seat and pulled out a bag and handed it to him. When he pulled out the jumbo box of condoms, he was more than a little surprised. "Mom, what is this?" he asked. I took a deep breath and began. "I don't expect you to tell me when you start having sex, but I do expect you to be prepared. I'm not thrilled about the thought of you being a father at your age, but I'd get over it. If you get an STD, there are antibiotics that can help. But Ted, if you get AIDS, you're dead. And I couldn't live with that. You should practice putting the condoms on before the need to use them arise. I want you to be completely prepared. If you're too embarrassed to buy them, I will. No questions asked. A box of condoms is a small price to pay to keep you alive."
When my daughter Bethany got her first serious boyfriend, I wanted to make sure she was as prepared as possible for any situation she might encounter. I'd had the talk with her long ago about her body and how it functions. From the time she was old enough to understand, we called her body parts by their correct anatomical names. I even pissed off my ex-mother-in-law when Bethany was 3 years old and explained to her her new baby brother had a penis and she had a vagina. So she shouldn't have been too shocked when I sat her down, told her we had to talk. She did look puzzled when I pulled out a condom and a carrot. I'd have used a cucumber, but we were out of those, so the carrot will have to do. Do you know what I have here, Bethany? I asked as a way of introducing the topic. Ever the smartass, my daughter followed with, some weird recipe for salad? Not quite, but it is a recipe for happiness. You're dating, and I want to make sure you are ready. I'm going to show you how to put on a condom the right way so it won't slip off or tear. Mom! I could hear the embarrassment in her voice, but at that point, I didn't care. I'd wound up pregnant with her because I didn't know how to make sure a condom went on right. I'd also had my share of guys who didn't seem to understand the meaning of the word stop. That was something I was determined she would never have to experience. It's not just the man's responsibility, Bethany. If you are old enough to be thinking about sex, you are old enough to know the right way to handle things. Now, look, this is the correct way to do this. I showed her how to carefully open the package, how to place it on the end, on the tip of the carrot to go upside down again, and how to gently unroll it so that it covered the entire length. Her face was as red as the shirt she was wearing. But she was listening. That was all I really cared about. When finished, I asked her if she understood. Yeah. You open the package, roll it down, you're done. Can I go now? Not yet. There is one more thing I want to make sure you know. I was taking off the used condom and getting ready to throw it away. I timed my next question very carefully. Do you know what to do if you change your mind? You can, you know. It's always up to you. You can say no at any time. Mom, do you really think this is all necessary? John isn't going to hurt me. He loves me. That may be true, and for your sake, I hope so. But humor me. Answer my question. What do you do if you changed your mind and the guy won't stop? Scream a lot, push away, run? Those are all great suggestions, but if that doesn't work, while you are also carefully applying the condom, remember one thing. You can always do this. I thought my daughter was going to faint. It must have made a lasting impression on her, though, because she used the same sort of talk years later when her own daughter got her first serious boyfriend.
She came bearing pamphlets. She came bearing forms. With sad eyes and sympathetic words, she came to offer us comfort. We could lay our baby to rest. We could attend prayer services, have a place to visit, a place to gather with others, a place to pray, a place to mourn, a cemetery for the unborn. But she hadn't seen the ultrasound. She didn't know that there was not a baby there. A sac collapsing on itself, a bleed. No pull, no fetus, no baby. That's what the radiology report revealed. That's what the doctor confirmed. That's what the fuzzy picture showed me with my own eyes. Her sad eyes did not offer comfort. They offered condemnation, judgment, wariness, suspicion. You do not really care about your baby, they seemed to accuse. You do not understand that you should be grieving, they seem to say. You do not recognize a child of God, a baby who deserves burial, a baby who deserves to be mourned just like any other person who has died, a baby who deserved a mother better than you. You who would sign the form refusing participation in the free services offered. You who would not sign a form so callously releasing your child's remains, the products of conception, over to the hospital for anonymous burial. You who couldn't grieve in the right way. You who shouldn't be free to heal in your own way. You who shouldn't think of lost hopes and lost dreams. You who shouldn't feel upset by my presence, who should be comforted by me. She came bearing gifts, but left only sadness, frustration, anger. And so I release my anger, my frustration, and my pain into God's arms. I know her offer will comfort some. In God's arms, it sounds so nice, so loving, so healing. But I also know that I will write to the hospital to recommend a new approach so that others are not forced into a conversation that may leave pain instead of comfort, hurt instead of healing, judgment instead of acceptance and love. I offer my prayers, my sadness, my grief. I do not need to go to a special place to gather with others. I do not need a funeral or burial to grieve or to pray. I offer my child, my dreams, my grief. I offer my anger, frustration, and fears. I place my family, myself, and my life into God's arms.
I was 11 years old, 6th grade, when I found my first pornography online. My breast had barely budded, and I was still 2 months away from starting my period. But there I was, staring at the screen with perfect, skinny women moaning and screaming, and hunky, grunting men with big penises. I don't know if it was the history of addiction in my family, the utter suppression of my sexuality growing up, or just the pure rebellious pleasure I got out of it. But by 14 years old, I was addicted, skipping classes to sneak home and watch porn on my parents' computers. And now, 13 years later, here I am, still addicted. I am a Christian, a gardener, a musician, a woman, and I am a porn addict. Some days, after I spent hours of my time staring at the screen I both revile and am impossibly drawn to, I feel like a victim. I was a child, damn it. Where were my parents? Why no one to protect me? How could this have been so easy to get? Other days, I sit slumped, feeling but nothing but pure self-hatred. It's all my fault, I tell myself. I could choose not to look. I could just say no and read a novel instead. But I don't. I am caught in a cycle that does not and will not end. A cycle of sex and tears, my body aching and angry, unable to sleep at night without images looping through my head. And it's true, what they say, that an addiction to pornography escalates. Sometimes I find myself watching videos that would sicken feminists like me. Yeah, Violence and rape abound in the pornography industry. For years, I've tried to stop. Feeling disheartened, I told myself I would never, ever get married or date someone seriously because I love God, and I would never want to tell my secret to a loving, God-fearing person I cared about. They would hate me, hurt me, or leave me. And that's another matter. God, do you know how many times I've prayed? Do you know how many nights I spent face down on the floor of my bedroom crying out for mercy and healing and some kind of hope until my tears stung and I could barely breathe? How could God love someone so disgusting as me? And geez, it's not like I haven't seen the pain pornography can cause in families. My own half-sister's dad is in prison for child pornography. How could I possibly be a part of something that has hurt my beloved sister? But everywhere I turn for help, all the books I've read, all the sermons I've heard, it's like no one even acknowledges that women can struggle and use porn too. It's always, the sermon is for the men in the congregation today. Fuck that. I have a feeling far more women use porn than people think. It's just like that statistic I heard in health class once, that only 20% of women masturbate. Yeah, right. Well, if that's true, then I'm sure I've done my part in making up for the missing 80%. A year ago, on my floor sobbing again, I decided it was time to stop begging God for help and holding on to the naive belief in my own willpower to stay away next time. I called a counselor. I sobbed in her office, and I could barely get the words out. I'd like to say it felt profoundly freeing, but in the moment, it just felt like hell that lasted for days. But over time, I've slowly opened up about my problem, and something inside of me has started to unwind. My counselor helped me understand that what I'm dealing with is a real, true addiction. And my inability to stay away isn't due to some massive moral failure, but the true power of addiction. The same power that overtakes too many alcoholics, meth addicts, and others. I've learned some new techniques to cope with my stress. I even worked up the courage to tell my best friend, so together we could install software on my computer that would block most pornographic images. She didn't hate me. In fact, she hugged me. I realized that behind my porn use was severe social and personal anxiety, perfectionism, and depression. As I've dealt with these underlying issues, slowly the gnawing need to use porn has lessened. But I'm still an addict. It's a label I'm slowly growing comfortable with, realizing that no matter how well I learn to manage my addiction and cope in healthy ways, I will likely always be an addict, always fighting this monster. And that's okay. I struggle because I am a feminist, and even as a Christian, I'm very positive about sex. So I don't want to say pornography is always bad, but it is for me, however. Just like I'm fine with one gin and tonic when an alcoholic simply isn't. I am a Christian, a gardener, a musician, and a porn addict. These things are all true and more, but hey, I'm working on it. And that work, that openness to change, that's what makes me strong and beautiful.
We were still making love 2 or 3 times a week, and afterwards he would tenderly hold me tight and tell me how much he loved me. I knew we would grow old together. I envisioned holidays with our grandchildren gathered around us. We would die romantically in one another's arms, unable to live without each other. I love you, and I always will, but I'm not in love anymore, he blurts out. For the first time in 30 years, he's looking at the floor, at the wall, at the ceiling, anywhere but my eyes. The pain smacks me in the chest like an emotional meat grinder. It cripples my heart and shreds my soul. I can't breathe. There is no way my husband is leaving me. This happens to other women. This is an amazing marriage. He is a loving, devoted father. A lifetime of memories flood my mind. The years I worked put him through college, the babies born, the countless family gatherings, our children growing up and graduating. We finally had them all raised. We were supposed to travel together, take special trips together, just the two of us. And he launches this bomb and explodes all my dreams, my plans, our plans. I've lost it. I've lost all control, begging desperately, crying for my life back. This is just a midlife crisis. We can work through this. Let's go to counseling. I beg. Everyone has problems. Good marriages don't just happen. They take work. We can work through this. But he won't go. He says he knows what he wants. The denial, it fades when he drags me into the attorney. He says it's going to save us money to murder our marriage, destroy our love, erase our life. I sit across from him numb. I do not care what they're writing down. Nothing matters to me. This is worse than death. If he had died and left me, at least I was knowing he was doing it against his will. But he is choosing to abandon me, and he's doing it without warning. I had no clue. I gave him my lifetime. The home, with all of the memories, sold. Each room had a story that echoed stories of our memories and memories of our precious babies. There is no witness to my life. I am on my own. The children relate to me differently now. I cannot stand the way they look at me with the pity. I don't want to burden them. I'm just so lonely. I'm lost. I don't know who I am. I was always someone's mother, someone's wife, the PTO president, the Girl Scout leader, the room mother. No, I'm nothing. I'm nothing but a divorcee. Society's reject. I'm a failure at the only thing I ever wanted. So here I am. Not really old, not really young. I need a job to support myself. There is no alimony. There is no child support. The kids have grown. I've put an application everywhere. No one will hire me. My degree is about as old as my marriage. It's obsolete, like me. When I go in for an interview at Walmart, the woman smiles and says, "I think you'd make a really great door greeter." He still makes 6 figures. Right up into the day that he left, I thought my husband was going to turn around and run back and say it was all a mistake. Well, when men age, they become more enchanting. I hear the girl that is pursuing him is the same age as our daughter, and that he's taking cruises, and that he's the life of the party. I can't compete with these women. Their perky breasts, their tight vaginas, their aerobic, sex-like acts, their wrinkle-free faces. He is desirable, not me. The days of getting whistled at when I walk past a group of men are long gone. Our culture devalues aging, and women lose value with age. We are replaced by the younger, newer version. Us middle-class women with our sagging breasts from nursing his babies, or the bloated uteruses that never get smaller no matter how much weight we lose from bearing his children, the wrinkles in the hair in places that we didn't know could exist. They would euthanize us if they could. I just wonder how much longer I'm expected to live in this life, just breathing.
I couldn't hear anything. All I could feel was the silent insanity my life had become. I was face down on her kitchen floor, and Ashley was on her knees next to me, tears running down her face. She was screaming, but I did not hear her. She was hitting me over and over, but I didn't feel a thing. Our addiction in the beginning was the kind of beautiful spiritual experience that the two of us shared. Now it was killing us. I regained consciousness just long enough to answer a phone call from my father. I told him where I was. Hours later, I woke in a hospital to leather straps locked to my ankles and my wrists. I told myself, "This is it, Maddie. This has to end today." I could feel the drugs leaving my body, the withdrawal every heroin addict runs from. In the past year, I had lied to countless friends and stolen from people I cared about most to avoid this moment. They had to sedate me that first night. The next day, Ashley came to visit and told me the story of her night of driving to the city, stopping at random street corners, asking random dealers for her fix. I had been madly in love with this beautiful girl for 2 years. And that moment was when I let her go. I left the life I knew, days of searching and waiting on dealers, nights of getting high and loving her. I've been clean for a little over 2 years. It hasn't been easy. Since then, Ashley has been in and out of jail, hospitalized numerous times, and has sold her body for the drug we started together. It's bittersweet, the realization of what could have been for me.
I need to forget the surge of heat I felt when first my lips met yours. It was an involuntary pull that made us lean in at the same damn time without a moment to overthink. I have to forget the tips of your fingers as they gently spread across my back. Might as well forget how warm my skin felt when you tell me I'm pretty. You made such direct, intent eye contact as the words sashayed off your tongue with genuine ease. Ah, your tongue. Oh my God, your tongue. The fullness of your mouth still haunts the crook of my neck and the small of my back. And it's been some time since you've held my curves, effortlessly shifting my frame under yours, storming my forbidden shores. Let me sober up from this intoxication of being told that I was yours and yours alone. I need to be arrested. Sentenced with no contest for believing in your delusions of grandeur. I need community service for getting serviced in the most brazen of ways. Yet, silently, alone I lay. Constant visions of back in the day, and one in particular continues to replay.
I met a girl once who looked at the stars. The stars, she would yell, her loud laugh almost drunken in its absolute abandon. The stars, girl, the stars. They never change their spots. The earth just moved around them. They were dependable, and they never, ever left you behind. They destroyed themselves just to create you. They would kill themselves again to make even more. Just like her. She would stare at them in the ghetto, sitting on her front porch as the crack addicts flew by on bikes and pounding sneakers. Like the gas can man, the one who stared at my ass and made me feel uncomfortable until she taught me that I was a woman and I didn't need to take that shit from anybody. My ass, my space, motherfucker. To her, my body was my own, and just like those stars, I could depend on it to keep me being me. And no man, no matter how high or handsome or unghetto, could make me feel that way. Because you lady, ain't ya? I'd know that ass anywhere. Wasn't a compliment. and only she got as pissed off about it as I did. Because my body was my second home, the home of my soul. She would stare at those stars and think of her home in the sand and the Joshua trees, where she was born and her mom lives and where she first met death. I met death too, although I told her about mine right away. She watched floodwaters made from the tears of angels take her family and ruin them, scramble them into some fucked up, twisted blender until they just lost their minds. But she loved them, and she loved that they were okay, and girl, I always knew it would happen. My aunt told me she'd die in water, and I believed she knew. Foreknowledge was always so much better anyways. She would open her arms to them sometimes, those stars that never changed on her. A beer in one hand and a cigarette in the other. I never saw anything as beautiful. Who cared if she wasn't white or I was a little pudgy or we wore the same clothes for days on end? She smoked, I smoked. Sometimes we reeked of beer, but that was only for us and together. And who cared what other people thought because our souls were beautiful? But hers was reflected in that one thing up above, that revolving painting that was so predictable that you could never be let down. I knew a girl once who looked at the stars, and I think she taught me what beauty was.
You are the only one whose job it is to take care of you. And lucky you if there's someone else thinking about you too. But you are the only one who knows what you need, who feels what you feel, and who knows your physical, mental, and spiritual self. Don't let someone tell you you are this or you aren't that.
Say no more often.
Say yes, 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 more often.
Buy yourself chocolate when you don't need it, so it's there when you do.
Paint your toes.
Make someone else paint your toes.
Feel your boobies.
Whistle at your own ass in those jeans.
Make sure your partner knows that you love yourself. Don't let your partner change your love for yourself. That's a partner you don't want. Find a good therapist, not because there's something wrong with you, but because you want to inspire what's right with you.
Listen to yourself.
Stand your ground.
Expect goodness from yourself.
Be gentle with yourself.
Believe in you.
Be good to you.
Shake, shake your brother.